This is Sarah Leslie with Go All In, helping entrepreneurs live the life they want to live right now, making the money they want to make the way they want to make it, while also living a rich and full life outside of their business. True personal freedom. Let's go. Hey, 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 welcome to another episode of Go All In. I'm your host, Sarah Leslie, and I am so glad to be here. And I am so glad that you are too. So today's topic is one of the things that I've heard so many times, both in my own journey, out of my own mouth, and also out of the mouths of so many of the people I talk to, including my precious clients. And so it's this sense of shoulding on ourselves, right? And we have this notion that we should be further along in the journey than we are. And this happens at every phase in the journey. It's available, we'll say. You can experience it at every stage in the journey, and you can experience it in every different part of your life also, right? So you can should on yourself in all different directions. And ultimately, the shoulding is keeping you from actually having the very things that you desire. And that's why we're going to be diving in deep to this topic today, because dude, you're here for the massive growth. You're here for the radical results. You're here because you want to love the heck out of life. You want to live your fullest expression of yourself and the fullest expression of what's available for you here in your specific world, your specific journey, right? In your business, in your love life, in your social life, like in all of the ways you want to be going all in. So, when I started out in my journey, I did a lot of shooting on myself. And in fact, I did a lot of shooting on myself over what I would think of as really my entire existence, right? I mean, as a little kid, you start learning, just like I did, the things that we should and shouldn't be doing. And also, real quick, apologies if there's any chance you can hear the noise going on around me. Of course, I have a scheduled time every week to work on the podcast and to make sure it happens. And this hour happens to be the exact time that the lawn people came. And my dogs, of course, go crazy when they come. And yet, I'm so committed to making sure that I'm staying committed to my own schedule and my own things that I've committed to, that here I am showing up anyway. And fortunately, we've got all kinds of AI tools to help take out the noise. And also, man, little Ellie Belly is just singing her heart out in the background. So all that being said, getting back to it, right? There's this part of us that as we grow up, we start to filter. And one of the ways that we filter is through the should and shouldn't lens. And so I can remember as a very young kid having all kinds of thoughts about what I should and shouldn't be doing, right? And a lot of it had to do with the interactions with my parents and my wanting to please them, my wanting to do good enough by them, me wanting them to be proud of me, and therefore concluding that I should do certain things and I shouldn't do other certain things. And long term, right, over the years, what I have become aware of is this ends up creating a mechanism of self-judgment inside of me as I am desiring to feel included, a part of, belonging, to feel approval, to feel good about who I am, right? And until you've actually learned how to feel good from the inside out, we generally speaking feel good from the outside in. So if things in our outside world are going well, or at least well enough, then we can feel okay inside. Does that make sense? And it's a really interesting thing to actually stop and really investigate, take an inventory on how you're actually operating. Are you operating from inside out or probably more likely outside in? I myself was operating from the outside in for years, really until I hit just before 40 years old. I'm 48 now, if you're trying to do the math. Well, I'm technically 48 at the end of this month. And it's been a long freaking time. Okay. So this bigger picture awareness of how is it that you're showing up how often are you using the filter of should and shouldn't? And what's it going to take for you to shift going from the outside in to going from the inside out? One of the most powerful shifts you could ever make is to actually stop holding yourself to unrealistic expectations, including what you should and shouldn't already know or be doing. So I can tell you for me personally how this was showing up, and then I'll share with you how it shows up for some of my clients to, again, help you to see yourself in this, in these stories. Sorry, I'm adjusting my shoes if you're watching me on video. So again, I got to about 38, 40, where I just decided I needed to make some massive changes. And there was lots of shame, lots of disappointment, lots of sadness, lots of frustration going on because I had not gotten to where I really wanted to be in my life. And because that's how I perceived things, that was the lens upon which I was looking out of my life with, was the not good enough, had not arrived, had not gotten where I wanted to be. There was shitting on myself in all directions, which, do you think made me feel better? No, of course not. It actually contributed to me feeling even worse, right? So it wasn't like I was not happy with things and therefore still allowing myself to be loved and cared for and then creating new circumstances. No, it was, I didn't like how things were. I didn't feel like things could get better. And therefore I felt badly. And as I felt badly, I had lots of commentary running around in my head that contributed and supported my not feeling better, my not feeling good about myself. And so for me, it was a journey of learning how to make that shift from assessing the things going on in my external world to then decide how I felt on my internal world. And it was a radically powerful shift to go from feeling really bad about my life to actually allowing myself to feel good about my life without even changing a whole lot of the circumstances. Now, granted, I did end up changing a lot of my circumstances, like pretty radically. And even as I changed my circumstances, I still didn't just feel better. And that's one of the most important things to note, is that we easily as humans get caught up in thinking, if I just changed my spouse, or I just changed my job, or I just made more money, or I just lived in a different place, my life would be better. I would feel better. That's not a true statement. Now, there are certainly times where when you change things, you do feel better. Usually that's more of a short-term effect. And then as you get longer term into the change, you realize, like, I do feel good about this change. And also I still feel the same way that I felt before this change. Okay. Now, if you're making these changes consciously because you believe it's the best thing for you, that's completely different than making the decisions because you think life will be better as a result of it. It's a very subtle, nuanced difference, and it's a radically different approach. So for myself, I held a lot of self-judgment about not having arrived at a better place at around 38. So if you're anything like me, you also have a lot of self-judgment and a lot of self-commentary that sounds unsupportive. You should be doing this. You should be making more money. You should live in a place that you love. You should have a spouse. You should this, that, or the other thing. And when we're having that conversation with ourselves, it's only perpetuating more of the energy that creates what we don't want. Okay, so as I'm focused on not being where I want to be, not making the money I want to the way that I want to, at least, not loving my home life, not loving my personal life, not loving my work, right? All of those things were going on for me back at around 38. And as I focused on them, I got more and more depressed, more and more dissatisfied. I didn't feel better. And I also started to develop a whole bunch of different physical problems. And I gave a lot of attention to those physical problems, like lots of loving attention, or at least my efforts were loving. And I continued to feel worse. Okay. So I know it can seem like if we're giving ourselves this running commentary,
or we're attending with focused attention to the things that feel bad, that it seems like it should get better and it doesn't. Okay, that's not the algorithm. The algorithm is actually learning how to focus on the things that you really desire, the things that make you feel good, and you create more of those things. You create more of that energy, right? So where our attention goes is where I forget how that saying actually goes. And it's just the concept that when you put your attention on something, you grow it, right? Like more of that grows. More where you put your attention it grows, right? So this oftentimes continues even as we're determined to make things better, is we continue to say things like, well, I should be doing this or I should be doing that. So again, you're not really freeing yourself to the extent that you could be to actually fully focus on the things that you desire and building yourself up. And so what ends up happening is you move from depressed to more just this place of like tension and conflict within yourself. So you still haven't actually learned how to create peace in your inner world, how to create love in your inner world. Now you're at least at a place of tension, right? Which is better than being depressed. I think it's better than being depressed. It's better than being miserable. So now you're at this place of tension and you're like, I want things to get better. And the mechanism that you know to allow things to get better is to focus on the problem, to focus on the things that are not working well. And that's just simply not the algorithm. So even when I got into coaching and got support that was really, really beautiful support that I truly believed could help me, which I believed the top level support that you could ever hire is to help someone learn how to manage your mind better. And I say that literally, like whether you work with me or you work with someone else, I say that hands down. Learning how to manage your mind, your emotions, your beliefs is literally the most powerful thing you could ever teach yourself, could ever learn, could ever invest in to be able to change your life. So as I began to invest in a mentor, coach, a guide who I truly believed could help me manage the high levels of self-doubt and fear and uncertainty that I was regularly experiencing every single day, that is when my life actually started to feel better on the inside. I actually shifted from being in that place of massive tension to starting to have periods of feeling internally really good about myself and about my life and what I perceived as possible for myself. And that is what started to have an impact on my external results. As I started to feel better about me, I started to feel better about the money I was making, about the clients I was creating, about the place where I lived, about the relationships that I was in. Part of that work and the shift that happened from being in that state of tension to actually feeling good internally was learning to remove the mechanism of shoulding. So early on with my coach, for I would say at least the first year, I would regularly be so surprised by whatever breakthrough I was having on the call. I still have a breakthrough on every single call, and I've literally been working with him for over 3 years, meeting almost every single week. And I would say things, I would have a big breakthrough, and then I would say something like, man, why didn't I know that? Why didn't I see that before? How am I just seeing that now? What the heck? That was my reaction to this massive insight that I had just had, or this big breakthrough that I was able to arrive at on the coaching call. My reaction to it was to should on myself. Okay, so raise your hand if you can relate to this experience. And so it progressively got better because I was working with someone who had no problem lasering right in on the places that I was having self-judgment and shoulding, and stop me in my tracks and invite me to look at it, and to look at it with really clear eyes, and to better understand what it was that I was doing and why I was doing it, and then help me to create a new narrative. Help me to reflect on this massive breakthrough, for instance, that I just had in a new way a way that I had never done before. And certainly not that I had done before with consistency. So if you're anything like me, you get asked to maybe speak at different events, or you have different conversations with people, whether it's with clients or it's on sales calls, or you have conversation that feels really hard and challenging with your significant other or with a member of your family. And afterwards, you think about it obsessively. And you review the conversation over and over and over again in your head, and you analyze it and you assess it and you consider how you could have handled it better, how you could have said something differently. Why did you say this? And why did you say that? And why didn't you do that? Or why didn't you do that? That used to be my way of reviewing all the things that were most important to me and or seemingly most important in my life. And didn't go the way that I had thought that they should or the way that I had wanted them to. And then I would obsessively think about it and obsessively review what I could have done differently. So to shift out of that long-standing, lifelong pattern takes a massive amount of intention and accountability. And so this is also happening with my clients over the years, where they will have these massive breakthroughs and great insights and also see really great results in their lives. Whether they're making more money, they're creating more clients, they're just feeling better in their business, they're showing up more powerfully, they're having more powerful conversations with people in their business and with people in their personal life. They're taking trips that they've put off for years. They're working on relationships that they've thought were lost or put off for years or didn't think could get any better. And they have this big breakthrough. They see the result. They see a window of opportunity. And their reflection is to go into self-judgment, to go into, oh my gosh, why didn't I see that? Why didn't I see that sooner? Oh my gosh, I totally didn't see that. Or what's wrong with me? Oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. These are the exact same things that I now hear over the last 5 years with my clients. And so I have this beautiful opportunity to actually coach them, hold them accountable, stop them in their tracks, and help them to shift to a new way to respond to the breakthroughs, to the insights, to the results that they're creating, so that they aren't just creating new results and then going on to the next thing, where they're actually able to deeply feel the win, the celebration, the shift, the change in their life. Again, whether it's the results or the breakthrough, it's a radical change to the way that they have been believing, to the way that they have been existing in their day-to-day functioning. And as they learn to make this shift where they're no longer shitting on themselves, they start to create even better results. They start to feel even better on the inside. And so then naturally their results on the outside get better. So a couple of the things that came up for me as I was preparing for this podcast to note is we're holding ourselves to unrealistic expectations when we have that level of self-judgment and that level of shoulding on ourselves. Ultimately, what we're doing is holding ourselves to unrealistic expectations. You might know this as perfectionism. You might also know this as trying to look like you have it all figured out, trying to look like you have it all together, trying to put off that persona like you're doing better than you really are. It's a bunch of different ways that we talk about it in the world. And if we really simplify it, it's holding yourself to unrealistic expectations. There's just simply no way that you could know what you didn't know before, right? Like if you had known this big breakthrough that you and I just had, you would have been taking action on it. Hands down, right? You're here because you're a hard worker, you're an achiever, you're a go-getter. So if you had this awareness before we had this conversation, you would have already been putting it to good use. So to come to the conclusion after you have a big breakthrough, a big awareness, that you should have already known that is holding yourself to unrealistic expectations. It's holding yourself to an impossible standard. It's just literally not possible to know what you don't know until you learn it. Okay? So we put ourselves in these catch-22 situations where we just literally can't win. The other thing that I've noticed that happens when we continue this process, this response to breakthroughs and insights and awarenesses, we actually then resist getting the help and the support that we know we need, right? Because we think we should already know this. I hear this all the time when I'm out in conversations with various people where they will say to me, I really have to do this on my own. I do want support. I do want to work with somebody, and I just really feel like I need to do it on my own. Part of where that sentiment is coming from is from their narrative of shoulding, from their narrative of self-judgment, right? I haven't made the right choices in the past. I should be able to make better choices. I haven't been able to, do this or that or the other thing. I should be able to figure this out. So we continue the cycle of shoulding on ourselves by not allowing ourselves to actually get the help and the support that we need, and to actually truly being committed to learning a new way of being, a new way of seeing things. So we just resist actually making the changes that actually need to happen inside of us in order for us to get over to here where we actually do feel genuinely good inside. And we have this sense of prosperity within us, and we let go of feeling bad about ourselves. But when we're in the shoulding, we will resist asking for support. We will resist truly focusing on what we need to learn. We will resist being consistent in the learning. We will resist showing up powerfully in the learning, because we fall back to, I should already know this, or I should be able to figure this out on my own. It is really I would love to do a separate podcast, and maybe I will, we'll see, on just this one notion of I should be able to do this on my own, because it can keep even my great clients spiraling by simply resisting coming and bringing it to me, right? And again, I'm not here to tell them what to do. They bring things to me over an app that I use, and they share what's going on, the struggle that they're having. And then I hop back on and give a comment or ask a question that helps them to open up their mind to actually considering how they have access to the information, the solution that they're looking for. So again, when they're in the shitting on themselves, they will resist bringing things to me. Even once we've hired someone to help us, as we continue the shoulding, we will resist even when we're paying someone to help us. So it's a really powerful, powerful mechanism. I would say self-judgment is literally the most powerful stopping mechanism to your growth and your success. The other thing it does ultimately is it holds us hostage for not being able to move further ahead in our lives. Ironically, right? Like we're shitting on ourselves about where we should be, how we should be, what we should be doing. And the thing that we're wanting is to grow and have new results and feel better, right? And so instead of actually going over to this direction, we stay over here in the shoulding and the self-judgment and the frustration and the discrepancies and all the things. And so we ultimately end up holding ourselves hostage and not being able to move further along in our lives, further along in how much money we're making, further along in the amount of love we let in, further along in the juiciness of our relationships. Why? Again, because ultimately self-judgment and shoulding and control are all there to slow down our growth. They're there to quote unquote keep us safe, and keeping ourselves safe ultimately is keeping ourselves from growing. And so it's this tension that we hold as humans to be able to discern between the things that are truly genuinely helping us to grow and evolve out of the old self versus the things that we're doing to keep ourselves stuck or held by our own limits, holding ourselves back ultimately from the actual growth that we're most desiring, from the actual results that we're most wishing we could create. So if we keep that shame and the shoulding, we just can't grow as fast and as easily as your heart is currently desiring to grow. When you let go of the shoulding and you focus in on consciously letting go of shoulding on yourselves, you open up the world of possibility exponentially. It's really limitless, the level that you're opening up possibility when you consciously decide to stop shoulding in any direction, on any topic, at any given moment in your life. You free yourself. You literally liberate yourself. I'm pointing to my tattoo for those of you that are listening only audio. My tattoo says liberated badass. You liberate yourself from the place of bondage that you're currently in, the prison that you're currently in, that you will constantly continue to hit up on these walls in this prison when you continue to apply self-judgment. So, a couple of suggestions. Obviously, the number one suggestion I give out is hire a coach, hire a mentor who you're paying, investing in out of your own pocket, preferably, to help you learn how to manage your mind, how to curtail the self-judgment and the shoulding, and actually learn how to show up more powerfully. And I give those specifics because there are 1,000 different coaches out there, and, probably a bazillion different types of coaches. And I'm specifically talking about one who specializes in understanding the mind, understanding belief systems, understanding thought processes, feelings, all of those wrapped up to actually be able to help you shift as a human, not just learn how to use LinkedIn better. For instance, a couple of other things that you can apply is literally tracking yourself for how often you're saying the word should. This is a really simple one because it's giving you a tangible marker to focus on. How often am I saying the word should? And as you focus on, I want to catch myself every time I say the word should, your awareness will grow for how often you're shoulding on yourself, how often you're feeling shoulded on, and it will at least grow your awareness so that you have a better chance of choosing to do it differently, to say a different story. So there's the awareness, there's hiring the coach, and then there's focusing on what you desire. So this is a shift in where you put your focus, which ultimately is the thing that allows you to create new results, is you become headstrong, focused on what it is that you want. So if you're wanting to increase your money, you focus on the dollar amount that you want to be allowing into your life. If you want to create more clients, you focus on I am creating more clients. If you want to feel better in your body, you focus on, I love my body. I feel amazing in my body. And then you focus in that direction. So the shameful mind will want to pull you back over here to the shoulding and the feeling bad. So it's a disciplined exercise to stay focused on what you desire, to stay focused on those statements that I just shared and believing those statements. And again, this takes an incredible amount of what I will say is discipline or effort, because every time your mind pops up with love my body, it's possible that you'll have a second follow-up thought after that that says, no, you don't. Or, yeah, but you're really kind of too heavy, or you weigh too much to really love your body, or you really should lose some weight, or you really shouldn't have eaten that last night at dinner. Okay. So that's generally how our minds operate. Again, that's because you're running a program that is filled with shame and shoulding. And so it's natural. Right now, it feels so natural to come back to that place. And so it takes a certain amount of effort and discipline and a process to actually train your mind to operate in a new way, in a place where you're feeling the depths of, I love my body. I love the way I feel in my body. So some of the clients that I have worked with can't actually say that at first. And it takes them however long it takes them to get around to actually being able to say it like I just said it. Why? Because the shame and the self-judgment and the control is so deeply rooted in their internal wiring, in their internal programming. So what I want to leave you with is it's 100% completely possible for you to make this transformation. 100%. I was so steeped in shame. I mean, I just loved to shout it from the rooftops because I had an amazing upbringing, amazing family. Was it perfect? No, not at all. And relatively to most people's lives, it looked from the outside amazing. I'm very educated, had all the privileges of college and great resources and continuing education. And yet I still found myself at 38 feeling miserable, dissatisfied, very, very hard on myself, full of shame that I had not arrived, that I had not gotten to the great success in the sky that I thought that I should be at. And I ultimately, what that all boiled down to is I didn't know how to feel good about where I was at in my life, about the results that I had created in my life. I did not know how to feel genuinely, deeply, profoundly successful about myself. So a lot of people that I work with don't identify themselves as successful, even though they've accomplished all of those big things that I just shared with you. They've done all of the really cool things in life, and they would not self-identify as extremely successful. I was in that same camp. So if you find yourself in that same camp where you're like, yeah, I definitely wouldn't identify myself as extremely successful, then you have room to grow, and you probably have some shoulding that needs to get out of your system and some self judgment that needs to get out of your system and some new ways of being where you truly can show up in life feeling so good, where there's lots of faith, there's lots of trust that life is working in your favor, that you're creating the things that you desire, that you're already amazing, that you feel amazing in your body. It just means there's more out there, more goodness for you to feel, experience, be delighted by in your life experience. So, as always, my friends, I'm so grateful to have you here with me. So grateful to be on the journey with you. Let's see, we have the Liberated Entrepreneur Liberated Entrepreneur Experience that is starting June 25th. So, if you want in on that, it's available for you. It'll be a small group of about 8 people, business owners that are really going after it, going all in on their lives and in their businesses, and want to learn how to create more radical results the way that they want them, and from a place of ease where we're radically streamlining the things that you're doing to create those results and most likely working less than you are right now. Shoot me an email if you're interested. I can't wait to get on a call and chat with you further about it. And until next time, go do that thing you most want to be doing. Cheers.
Ready to hire your own personal one-to-one mentor to help you take your life and your business to the next level? Go to my website where you can sign up for a no charge, no pressure consultation where we can get to know each other better. I get to hear your vision. I'll help you understand exactly what's getting in your way. And if it feels like a good fit and I believe I can help you, we'll talk about what it looks like to work together.